Dooney.
Dune, 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 Dune.
Dune, we kill your family in Dune.
Dune, 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 Dune.
All right, let's get started.
Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today you have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and David Duncan. Hello, David.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello, you French people. Today we are talking about Dune. We are on chapter 23 and 24, and this is book 2, the beginning of book 2, Muad'Dib.
Muad'Dib. I'm blowing my nose at you, so-called Muad'Dib. You and all your Fremen niggets.
Muad'Dib in the house. Dave, we get the very beginning of 23. We're back with Paul and Jessica. They spent the night in their still tent, and now they are buried under sand.
Oh, yeah, they got buried. They're not having a good time.
No, they're probably having the worst time of their life right now. So they have a quick quote about the Padishah emperor and the princess basically recounting the tale when the emperor found out Duke Leto died, and he was blaming everybody about it. And then she found out, it says, as I look back on it, I think there might have been some precedence in my father, too, for it is certain that the line of the Muad'Dib share a common ancestry. So he was upset that the nobility could be shaken like that, but also that Paul is a common ancestor to all of them. Technically, it's like you going around and killing people in your family and extended family.
Oh, you mean like Europe in like the 1600s?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean it's just like we're all related to each other. We've all had tons of incest, which is really cool and all, but we're going to fight you until we can have some more incest. Because incest is what stops wars.
Might make you stupider, too. So Paul starts off the chapter saying, now Harkonnen shall kill Harkonnen, Paul whispered to himself. So that's when he wakes up in his still tent.
Well, you see, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen's whole issue is that Duke Leto never married his daughter, never made an honest woman out of her. So he's killing... It's like a weird kind of, you should have made her an honest woman, so we're going to kill you.
And yet the Baron slept with Jessica's mom, who was, I guess, a Bene Gesserit, we learn here.
Yes.
And she had the Baron's daughter, Baron's child, which is Jessica. So Jessica is technically a Harkonnen.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, like if they would have married, that could have like fixed a lot of the problems. Like Duke Leto could have made it. Possibly, because then they'd be allied by marriage.
But I don't know if the Baron's aware of Jessica's origin. I think it was kept secret to him. I'd be interested to find out if there's more.
Well, if we just tell everyone we're doing incest, like in the Europe in the 17, 16, and 1500s, then maybe we could have stopped this war.
Hey guys, we're doing incest, guys.
Yeah.
Sleep with your cousins.
We gotta keep the royal family pure.
The blue bloods. We can't have blue balls.
We're related to the emperor. We're related to the Harkonnens. We're related to the Atreides and the Bene Gesserits. We're related to everyone.
Guys, we're doing the incest. All right, so so they're waking up and just before nightfall, and they decide that they're going to have to start leaving soon. And Duncan Idaho is nowhere to be found. And apparently he told Duncan Idaho...
Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman, a.k.a. Duncan Idaho, has told Paul that he'd hold out to this point if he got captured. So there's like he gave him a time limit. Like by 9 o'clock, I'll hold out that long, and after that, if they're torturing me, I'm going to spill the beans after that. So, and Paul's like, he's not here. We're going to have to start moving on our own. So, yeah. So anyway, so that's the plan there. And Paul takes a drink from a still suit and just, kind of the water.
Poo-poo water. Mm.
Yeah, drinking the pee-pee poo-poo water. And he kind of feels like, oh, this is a weird, taste. It's kind of a flat taste. But Jessica sees him do it, but she doesn't want to do it because if she drinks the water, she feels then she accepts her life, her fate on Arrakis.
What? She's got one of those crysknives. She can't leave if she's got a crysknife. Shattered Mapes just fucked her. She's like, here, I know you've been here for all of 5 seconds, but here's this thing. If you look at it, you can't leave.
Jessica also kind of was like in and out. She's kind of pretending to sleep, but then she goes back to sleep for a second. Or
she's doing Paul's trick. Good for her.
And they did sleep because Yui's not there hopping up on drugs or putting him to sleep. Drugs. So
Duke Leto totally distributes the speed. He's like, yeah, I've got speed. I'm your speed dealer, family.
Jessica closes her eyes and has this dream, and she sees Duke Leto's name written down, but the sand keeps filling her name, and she's trying to clear the sand, and that she can't. So that's sort of like a dream, like his name will be kind of forgotten, kind of thing. Lost to the sands of time. Maybe
he didn't have it planned out super good because Duke Leto II lasted a long time, and that's basically his namesake.
Well, I guess.
That's why you name someone the second, so the name isn't forgotten.
Then Paul gets into this, starts talking about desert power, and that they have to stop the spice. He says the place to hit them is in the spice. Hit them in the spice, Dave.
Well, it's kind of like below the belt. It's not honorable, but it's the way we're going to have to go do it. Hitting them below the spice. And
Jessica says, an entire planet full of spice. She says, how can you hit them there?
Well, you see, all we got to do is to call up Emperor Palpatine. He'll bring his Death Star over, and he'll take us out. It'll be good.
He says, and then his response to that is, it was sea power and air power on Caladan. Here it's desert power. Fremen on the key. So that's his thought on this whole thing. So just like his dad said, desert power.
Desert power. We're not going to change that name up at all, huh?
I guess we're just going to use desert power. Could use desert force or sand force.
Space force.
Sand force.
Sand space force.
So Paul then starts, opens up the sphincter of the tent, and he starts using his compaction tool to dig his way out. So, because they are really buried. And so they're going to dig her way out. So Jessica starts following him outside, and she sees the stars when she gets up there, and she says they're like weapons aimed down at her. And she hears birds singing off in the distance, but it doesn't really make her feel any better. So, and they're all out in the wilderness by themselves.
Yes.
Nobody else is around.
No one's having fun.
Nobody's having fun. Nobody's coming around for them. So like Paul said that Duncan Idaho would hold out to this point, so they got to move. And Jessica starts. She thinks to herself she is now living in Paul's orbit now. So he's the one calling the shots. The big man, the head cheese.
Yeah. See. Leave the pizza on the doorstep, you filthy animal.
Yeah, filthy animal. Keep the change.
You filthy Bene Gesserit who thinks I'm going to be, your Shadat Hezit kind of correct. I got something in my throat, sorry.
In the distance, they see pillars of fire, and then Jessica realizes that these are jet flares and laser guns, and the Harkonnens are carpet bombing the area, so they're killing everything. They're just just destroying everything. So, and even Paul says they'll kill anything that moves, and says we have to seek cover. So they take off, and that ends up that chapter right there. And now we go to the next chapter, chapter 24, and we go to Thufir Hawat is now still alive with his troops, which I think he said number 200 are down to 20. And half of those are wounded.
Yes, and Thufir still thinks that the damn Bene Gesserit whore bitch thing is the reason Duke Leto's dead. I should have killed her when I was sitting in the chair next to her. He took her gerbs.
He took her gerbs. So Hawat is there with his men, and they've escaped all this carnage behind them by the Harkonnen soldiers and the Sardaukar warriors, which we find out later that the Sardaukar are dressed as Harkonnens. I think we talked about that in a past chapter, but they're kind of like pretending to be Harkonnen soldiers. Mm. But funny, we get kind of like we get the first real glimpse of Fremen in the desert. So there's a robed man squatting silently on the sand across from Hawat, apparently unmoved by his words because he's talking to himself about everything that's happened. And this guy,
out your dad.
So apparently the Fremen here, I don't believe, is ever given a name. And he's kind of Hawat and the Fremen, who apparently, what did he say? How did he approach? Let me just see here. Came across the Fremen who had came across the sink in the first light of dawn, skittering over the sand, blending into the dunes, his movements barely discernible. So he was sort of like just like sneaking through the dunes, and like they could just barely see him doing what he was doing. So like they didn't even know he was there for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they're talking to each other, but they don't have it seems like the Fremen is not speaking the same kind of. It doesn't have the same cultural references that Hawat does, and they're not understanding each other. So the Fremen's like, half of your guys are wounded. You want us to help you, but they're not worth their weight in water, kind of thing. Like, why would we help them?
They don't have still suits. They don't know about desert power. So
they don't know about desert power.
So I mean, if they knew something about desert power, then maybe we'd be inclined to help them. Or if we were part of the same tribe, which means more incest, but you're not related to us, so it's kind of not okay. Well, we can make amends. We can make it work.
Yes, and so the Fremen also says that Gurney Halleck hid safely with some smugglers, and so. Thufir kind of feels like, okay, good. Gurney will get off this planet. At least he'll be good. And then from there, so from there, they're going back and forth, and then he start talking about how they are attacking. They attacked to get one of their cannons or artillery from the Fremen attacked the Harkonnens to get their artillery, and there were Sardaukar warriors, and they captured 3 of them. And Howard's like, you captured 3 Sardaukar warriors? He says, yes, they fought very well.
They fought very well, but not quite as good as we fight. But they're pretty good.
They're pretty good. So yeah, and they have a couple of them on ice somewhere that they're good. So, and this kind of piques his interest. And what it really comes down to is that this Fremen feels that obviously Paul Atreides is, what does he keep calling him? The liaison al-Grab? Is that what it is?
Algiers?
Algiers?
I don't know.
I'm trying to find it here in the book. I'm just looking for it. But yeah, so he's like, Thufir's like, it's my job to see that he lives and prospers. And he's like, well, then we have the same thing in mind. We're on the same thing. And he's like, our tribe should join. And then when they find out that, he's like, well, this is great. Our tribes are going to be joined together. We can work together. And then, what's his name? One of Thufir's men, Arky, he just dies. He dies.
You'll be stoned dead in a moment.
So Arky dies, and he's like,
I think I'll go for a walk.
He'll do no such thing. Arky just died. Yeah, he says, behind Hawat, one of his men calls out, Thufir, Arky just died. And then the Fremen puts his fist to his ear and says, the bond of water. It's a sign. He stares at Hawat. We have a place nearby accepting water. Shall we call my men? And the aide returned to Hawat's side. Says, Thufir, a couple of the men's wives are in Arakan. Well, you know how it is at this time. So, like, the men still have their wives still back in where they left, and they're worried about them, obviously, you know. And the Fremen just held his fist to his ear and says, "The water bond, Thufir Hawat," he demanded. And Thufir's like trying to figure out what to say, what to do, and he says, "The bond of water." And then the Fremen goes, "Let our tribes be joined," and he lowered his fist, and as though that there was a signal, 4 Fremen come down like ninjas off the rock above, and they wrap him in a robe, poor Arky, and they just take off. And one of the men shouts like, "Hey, where they're going with Arky?
We're just gonna bury him. Yeah, we're gonna do him real nice.
He's gonna bury him." And then the Fremen goes, "The men don't bury their dead." And then
we're gonna put a straw in him. We're gonna do the spider thing. We're just gonna put a straw in him and slurp him up.
Right.
We're
so
really thirsty.
So and the men are getting really pissed off. It's like, wait, so they're just gonna just boil him down to his water? It's like, what about his, that's not how we do things. And the one guy starts bringing his laser gun his holster, like, what the hell are you guys doing? And Thufir's got to kind of settle everyone down.
Now, let's not bicker and argue about who killed who. It's supposed to be a happy occasion. We've joined tribes. It's just like getting married.
Exactly. It's actually pretty funny because the whole time this Fremen is talking to Thufir, and Thufir's just trying to decipher what this guy's saying, and he realizes this Fremen just doesn't have any cultural reference outside his life. So it's just funny. But that Fremen coming repelling off the down from the cliffs and just pulling up Arky and just taking off with them is pretty damn funny. Actually, I laughed when they said, "Hey, where are they taking Arky?"
Well, nowhere good.
Then he says, "Okay, so now we're all together. We're a tribe now. We're one.
Can you help the wounded ones now, please?"
Yeah, he says, "We can help you, but first you gotta hide in these rocks. Be quiet, very, very quiet."
How good are you at hiding in rocks?
Pretty good. I'm good at hiding in caves. Don't do that. And then he takes his bat the Fremen takes his bat out of a small cage, and he what is this? He drinks his saliva or something like that. He puts his mouth to his mouth, and something like a droplet comes down. It's very bizarre. He says the Fremen stroked the bat, soothed it, crooned to it. He bent over the animal's head and allowed a drop of saliva to fall from his tongue into the bat's upturned mouth. The bat stretched its wings, but remained in the Fremen's open hand. The man took a tiny tube and held it beside the bat's head and shattered into the tube, and then lifted the creature high and threw it upward. The bat swooped away beside the cliff, and it was lost to sight.
It's like a carrier pigeon. It's Game of Thrones. It is,
but bat size, and apparently you can talk into their ear and tell them what to do.
If you give it some water, it'll do whatever you want it to do.
Yeah, and so it starts flying off, and he says, "One should never." Where it goes here, some of the men start talking behind the rocks because some time passed. He says, and the Fremen says, "Remain silent as frightened animals." And then the Fremen says, my little friend carries his message. He is a good messenger, day or night. I will be unhappy to lose that one. So, and across the sink where the Fremen came across before, we see the entire 4 or 5 kilometers expanse of sand, nothing but the heat. But now we see a file of plodding figures walking across the opposite cliff. So they're coming on the opposite side of this big sinkhole filled with sand. And Hawat sees them, and they appear to be Fremen. And they're walking like, he says, an inept band. So they look disorganized for some reason. You see, he counts 6 of them. And then an ornithopter flies up above them. And it's a Harkonnen, which is colors. It's an Atreides ornithopter, but it's painted with Harkonnen battle colors. So they took this. The group is stopped there on the crest, and the thopter circles above them. And then when it lands, people just jump out of the desert, out of like the sand, and basically take over the ornithopter and kill a bunch of the men inside of them.
Sardaukar warriors dressed as Harkonnen agents.
Right. And, behind Hawat, one of the men whispered, "Those were Sardaukar." And the Freeman says, "Did you notice how well they fought?"
I don't know. The Fremen seemed to they took them out really quick, so I didn't really get to see them fight.
Maybe our Atreides soldiers are just terrible. Hawat, so he's just like, wow, holy crap, these guys are good fighters. And so they take over the ornithopters, the Fremen, and then they fly off the ornithopters. So, and Hawat's like, wow, they can fly ornithopters too? These Fremen, pretty good. We should have been friends with these guys a long time ago.
We should have made friends with them a long time ago before we would have to them there the Kaladin.
The Kaladin. So then we see a troop carrier come. It's a very big ship. It's got more Sardaukar on their ships. And then the stolen ornithopter with the Fremen smashes into it and kills themselves and all the Sardaukar warriors onto there. So they sacrifice themselves for all those to kill all those people. And like,
good little warriors.
Yeah, and he's just like, was it how it says it was a Fremen who took off on that captured thopter. He deliberately sacrificed himself to get that carrier. Great Mother, what are these Fremen? And the Fremen says, a reasonable exchange. There must be at least 300 men on the carrier. Now we must see to their water and make plans for the great to get another aircraft. So he says that, and then all of a sudden, a rain of blue uniforms come over the cliff in front of him, falling in low suspender slowness. And in a flashing instance, Hawat had time to see that they were Sardaukar, hard faces set in battle frenzy, and they were unshielded, each carrying a knife in one hand and a stunner on the other. A thrown knife caught the Hawat's Fremen companion in the throat, hurling him backwards, twisting face down. Hawat had only time to draw his knife before the blackness of the stunner projectile fell on him. And that's how we end the chapter.
Don't tase me, bro!
Don't tase me, bro. So yeah. So now Hawat is captured, and his unnamed Fremen friend is dead.
See how well they fought.
Yeah, hey, these guys do feel pretty good. Dave, what'd you think of these 2 chapters?
I think they're really good. Like, pretty exciting. All this shit's hitting the fan, and it's nice to see more about the Fremen and how they are, and like it's just crazy how badass they are. Like. Everyone is just kind of like the Sardaukar warriors. Like ever since the 2nd or 3rd chapter, when they started mentioning Sardaukar, like these are like the cream of the crop. Like they are like
Like
everything is scary. Like, nothing is as scary as a Sardaukar warrior.
They're elite soldiers. They're super. They're because of their harsh planet they come from. They're like super hardened.
They're like the Russian Spetsnaz.
Yeah, right.
Super hard.
Yeah.
How about you?
It's very fun. The chapter with Paul and Jessica wasn't as interesting, but it's kind of showing that they got to move on. They can't stay there waiting for help.
Rolling.
And Paul's got to kind of take the lead now, where Jessica seems kind of like out of, not really like she's out of sorts.
It's like he sucked away all her experience.
She's like reeling from everything that happened in her husband's death, so she still hasn't quite gotten over that. But the chapter with Thufir and the Fremen and everything that goes on that we just described, very interesting. Very interesting to see these ninja sand warriors.
And just how like devastating they are.
Yeah. The only crazy thing is that they didn't know that there were all these Sardaukar warriors ready to jump on them. So apparently they're not as good as we might have thought.
I mean, they're good at reactionary, but they just didn't they weren't expecting the Spanish Inquisition.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, I'm it was pretty cool. So I'm very excited to see what we get into next. So, good stuff. I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting really, really cool. Like, just the world's expanding, but it's a lot less just exposition. Now it's like coming in practice. Like things are happening and they're being explained as they happen instead of like just exposition dump with a little bit of things happening. And also, it was kind of interesting. We're getting more. I mean, I know it's kind of about Paul. But we're getting, in the Paul chapter, Paul and Jessica, we pretty much only got his perspective, and, we didn't really get her insights, like what she's thinking, what she's going
Besides
through.
her dream.
Yeah, I mean, we had a dream, but I mean, like, in practice, I mean, like, it doesn't seem like her Bene Gesserit training is, like, working, or, like, it's like maybe he's, like, siphoned it away from her somehow, because he's, like, totally in charge, and, like, almost a different person now, and she's kind of like, I don't know what to do, when she's got all this, like, life experience and training.
Right, and Paul being now in the desert and the spice is totally accelerating everything inside him. Yeah. All his genes, his training, everything.
And he's realized that if they leave, they die because they're both addicted to the spice now.
And you can't ever leave. It's like living in Crack World.
Crack World. Is it the sequel to Waterworld that never came out?
Crack World, it's all crack. Someone should do a Dune parody, but it's all crack. They're all smoking crack, and like the Harkonnens are like the cops always trying to get them.
That would be great.
And every time the Harkonnen cops people show up, they play the bad boys, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do when they come at you?
Yeah. Also, Dave, we did find out that, which I was on vacation camping. I didn't know this even happened, but this past week, we had the leaked Dune trailer came out.
I did not see the leaked Dune trailer. Well,
I saw some stills.
Last week we thought it was going to officially drop during the time between the podcast. Well, we thought it was going to drop the day after we released it. And it never did. So it's not coming until September, 9th now?
Yeah, September 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern.
So we got a bit before it drops. I'm excited to see it. I saw a still of the Orthopter. It looked really cool. Someone wrote an article I saw saying how, like, Jason Momoa is like the secret main character of Dune, since Duncan Idaho keeps getting cloned over and over and over again. Like, they might the person was postulating in the article that maybe instead of like doing all the Dune books, just do the Dune books that feature Duncan Idaho, because Jason Momoa is like the premier action hero, and Duncan Idaho is supposed to be like this badass like fighter or whatever. And so if they just focused on the Dune books that have Duncan Idaho in them, that could be interesting. I wouldn't mind. Jason Momoa is fun to watch.
He is fun to watch. And he will be in... I mean, the Duncan Idaho character shows up in Dune Messiah as well, but he is a clone or something to that nature. It's been a while since I read it, so
so it'd be interesting if they kind of like pivot and make center the series of movies around him.
Right.
Even though, like, Paul is like the hero for the first two books, then it kind of pivots to.
Well, it goes into like
Duke Leto the second.
Yeah, him, and also his sister Ali becomes like a big thing too. In fact, Dune Messiah, Ali is more grown up and she's more vicious. But anyways, yeah, it's cool stuff. I saw some of I saw a couple of the stills look very cool, so I'm very excited to see. But obviously, we're in. I guess Warner Brothers came down hard on anybody that posted things or talked about it. So obviously, we didn't see it. So Warner Brothers, we don't know what to see. We just saw some pictures. That's about it.
Yeah, I saw some leak pictures. I saw Ornithopter, looked pretty cool. The kid playing Paul. In some of the earlier, like, official release pictures, I didn't think he looked that young, but, like, in some of the new ones, he does look like he could be, like, the 15 or 16-year-old, like how he is in the book,
He looks a bit like a very young version of the guy who plays Loki, Hiddleston. Tom
Hiddleston, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston, yeah. He looks like a very young version of him.
Yeah, kind of. Whereas, like, dude from... the guy who played him in the original.
Oh yeah, Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah. He looked like he was in his
He was in his 20s. He was like 20. He was like 24, I think, or 23. He was still very young, but yeah, he was.
But he didn't
much
look,
older.
He didn't look like a teenager.
No, he did not look like a teenager. No, yeah. But yeah, cool stuff. Excited to see it. Apparently, from what I've read, the Dune movies are going to be split into two movies. So the first book will be split into two different movies. So we should be well past the first movie by the time whenever this thing gets released.
Yeah, hopefully. And then they're also saying that they're setting up Jason Momoa's death as Duncan Idaho to be like Boromir and the Fellowship of the Ring.
Gotcha.
Like it's supposed to be like this big I mean they're comparing it to Boromir, so I don't know if they're going to do his death being the ending of the first movie. I don't know. It seems like that would be too early.
It's hard because Duncan Idaho. It keeps on being talked how beloved he is, but we barely see him.
Barely in, yeah. So I just wonder, if they're gonna make his part way bigger, or give a bunch of background, should have a bunch of show him murdering people on the planet next to the Pleasure Planet, as a flashback or something. Because they keep talking about him, but he's been in so far he's been in the book for a scene. I know, yeah. two scenes,
a couple scenes, but it's because it's mostly been obviously the Duke, who Paul loves, his dad, his mom, and then Gurney and Thufir.
Yeah, and
Yui a little bit, but Yui was kind of weird, so.
Well, he's a dentist. Dentists are all pretty weird.
I'm a dentist.
Open your mouth wide. I've got a surprise for you.
No! Well, guys, if we miss something on these chapters, or if we see something that we should be doing or saying that we're not getting about these books, please let us know. You can hit us up on our email. You can email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. You can hit us up on our Facebook group, Facebook.com/groups/Synthaholics. Love to hear from you there. You can also get us on Twitter at Synthaholics Duo. And let's see, what else we can do? Instagram. Get us on Instagram, synthaholics.podcast. We're there too. I updated that recently. I've been bad.
And went from Remember the Can't to Lower Decks.
Yeah, it's been a stretch. So that, and then and if this is a podcast you feel like you'd like to support, please go to our Patreon.com/Synthaholics, and that'd be great. Some monetary support helps us a lot. We're not asking a lot, people, like $1.
Yeah, just helps. If equipment goes bad, we replace equipment. There's monthly cost on the hosting, and the website is also yearly cost. So it just keeps everything coming to you.
Yeah, it keeps it going. And of course, word of mouth is a wonderful thing. So let your friends know, let your family know, let your fellow Dune readers, fans know. So
people don't know what a podcast is. Just here, hand me your phone. Just plug it in for them.
Let them know the sleeper has awakened.
Do the Ben Kissel method.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. Well, until next week, we'll get into chapter 25, 26. So read up on your chapters and join us again for Dune. All right, guys. The spice must flow.
Side of Mars. Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink, and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
Conan's out. Because Paul's out Conan.
I guess he is. Yeah. All right, buddy. I'm going to grab some more coffee, and then we'll talk Moist Vessel.
Ooh, that sounds way kinkier than it actually was, unfortunately.
So Dooney and Lower Deckies.
Yo.
Isn't it upper deck is when you poop in the top tank?
Yes, that's an upper deck. That's why it's called the poop deck.
Ah,
Because on the ship, the poop deck is the upper deck.
I see.
Katie's giving me funny looks.
Start the poop jokes.
Poop jokes.
Let's see. The Dune trailer
Didn't drop.
It was leaked, which I never got a chance to see.
I didn't see it either.
But it was. It's going to come out September 9th.
I seen.
I saw some stills.
Stills. I've seen stills on Facebook. The orthopter looks awesome.
I didn't see the orthopter. I saw pictures of.
I saw a picture of the orthopter. It looked really cool. It looked sort of like the drawing you had, except it had I think it had 6 wings instead of 4.
Cool.
But it definitely kind of has that dragonfly vibe. Whereas in the other Dune movie, like the Frank Herbert one, it just looked like I don't even know what it was trying to look like in the.
It was like a cube that was weird. It was very weird. I don't know what that was about.
It was so ugly.
Yeah, it was not very graceful at all.
And I don't even remember what it looked like in the Dune 2000 movie. That movie
was it
so
like kind of a
forgettable.
bird kind of shape?
I don't even remember that the Dune 2000. I remember it was a better attempt. I remember the visuals were terrible.
The visuals looked, because it was all like that.
Because it was
early
a sci-fi
CGI
movie.
Yeah, it was the early CGI sci-fi stuff. So.
Which is why I'm surprised The Expanse looks as good as it does. Because when I think sci-fi science fiction, I think Dune.
Well, they've gotten a lot better, of course. So,
and I also think Mansquito and Sharknado and all their shit movies with shit CGI in it. This is why I'm so amazed The Expanse looks as good as it does, because they've made some awful looking movies.
Yeah, they did. I certainly remember watching a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw Mansquito, but my dad talked about it all the time.
I saw a few different ones. I don't remember all of them, but everyone I remember was I just watched for maybe 20 minutes, half hour.
I watched all of Sharknado 1 because I saw a supercut of Sharknado 1, and it was hilarious. Yeah. But it was only funny because it was a supercut of all the shark violence.
Okay.
And it seemed so over the top. But when you've got all the boring talking scenes and all the scenes that don't look like they fit together, and the background, everywhere's flooded, but all the backgrounds they're bone dry because they didn't cover it up with CG or whatever. It was just it just became super painful to watch.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I do remember a lot of them, especially in the early 2000s.
I think Will Wheaton was in Sharknado 3 or something.
Was he? Isn't the guy
I think he just died
Buffalo?
at the beginning of the movie, though. Who?
Isn't the original director of Sharknado from Buffalo?
I have no idea who.
I'm pretty sure he is. One of our claim to fame.
Yes.
That
Buffalo's
Timothy McVeigh.
Buffalo's claim to fame. Sharknadoes. Actually, wasn't last podcast wasn't Joseph Smith hanging out around here like when he was young?
He wasn't in Buffalo, but he was like between Buffalo and Rochester
It was
area.
like the Western New York area, though. So,
It
I mean,
was,
like,
so, yeah.
I mean,
it's where he just claimed to find the golden tablets and stuff.
Yeah. Our claim to fame is the golden tablets were here.
Golden tablets. Timothy McVeigh, O.J. Simpson played football here forever.
Oh man, we're known for shit.
Yeah, we've had some pretty stinkers.
Except for Buffalo Wings. Buffalo Wings is the only thing that's not awful that we're known for. Except I guess Buffalo Wings can give you heart disease, so I guess that's...
Yeah, they will kill you. They're delicious. They are delicious, but they will kill you.
So it's like, we're not really known for anything great.
They're like the succubus of food.
If only.
If only. What else I gotta say? I don't know. That's about it. Yeah, that's all I got.
I finally sort of caught up on last podcast.
Did you hear the last one? As your old stomping grounds.
Only started that one. Only just started that one. I finished Jodi Arias last night.
I wasn't that interested in that one. That was kind of stupid. It was like it's like those modern trials. Like, it's not that interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Did you like it? I mean, it's funny, but it's not.
Well, I just think it's just like the last couple episodes. Like, Ben Kissel's been putting his foot in his mouth so much by having the worst jokes.
Yes. But they're so bad, they're funny.
Yeah, they are so bad, they're funny. And he keeps talking about having them cut out because they're so bad, but then, like, they keep them in. Like, I don't remember them ever saying, we got to cut that out, we got to cut that out. Like, because they've always...
Sometimes they say it, sometimes they say it.
It's not often, but the last couple episodes, it's been way more often. Like, Ben Kissel's been on a really shit roll with his jokes.
Yeah,
but they are so bad, they're funny.
Yeah, because they'll be like, "Yo, we gotta cut that," and they're like, "Oh no, we're keeping that."
We're gonna humiliate you. Yeah. That's been like the one saving, but it's I mean, it's still funny. So I mean, I'm listening to it. Before, when you first told me about it, I'm only listening to episodes that interest me. Now I just listen to them all because they're still pretty good.
I started listening to the real early ones. They only go back to like episode like 35 or something like that
on Spotify.
Yeah, on Spotify. So they like the early ones. Because like the first one, I remember listening to the very first one. It was basically Marcus,
Henry. They're in that closet at the restaurant or whatever.
Well, they were walking around a neighborhood where the 22 caliber killer was killing people, and they were talking. They were like walking the streets and talking and recording at the same time. Huh. It was really, it was terrible quality, and like they were kind of whispering to each other while they're talking, so it wasn't like really lively. It was a weird, very different, Mm-hmm. So